So first and foremost, we just want to thank you just for speaking with us today. You've been such an inspiration just to the both of us, and it's really just an honor to have this opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you for having me.
You are our first guest for our 20s Takeover series. The purpose of this series is to acknowledge the success of those within their 20s. You have accomplished so much and you're only 27. At what point did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur and create ConcreteLoop.com?
Well, I think since I was a kid, I've always been like a entrepreneur, a hustler, or whatever you want to call it, because I've always been doing things and magically always was making money. Like even when I was 10 years old, I used to sell candy and make money from that, and have like a little money on the side. And at school, when I was in middle school, I had like this whole little candy business I was running. And then the school found out about it, and they made the rule that I couldn't sell, like people couldn't sell candy on campus anymore, and I was upset. So, but they didn't make a rule about not selling it on the bus, so I still sold on the bus. So I always found a way to hustle, as if you want to say it. In regards to Concrete Loop, I've always been into graphic design as well. It's been one of my hobbies and passions since I was like 10 or 11 as well, and I started Concrete Loop in 2005 the day before my 21st birthday, so I was 20 when I started. Because I was looking at the blogs and the sites that were popping up, and they weren't talking about any black celebrities around that time. And they weren't talking about anything I was interested in. And since I already know how to design and do my own coding and whatnot, I just launched a website like that.
Well, that's amazing. I know personally I first discovered Concrete Loop back when I was a freshman in high school, and I always just was so inspired, and just from that, I wanted to go and make my own blog, and I remember putting like Concrete Loop as my favorite blog. So just from that, like without you even knowing it, you had inspired me, this young girl. So at what point did you ever really imagine the impact that your blog would have on the entertainment world and beyond?
Um, I don't know, there's a lot of different points when I started realizing how big it was. Because, when I started, I was in North Carolina. It's like a small town called Jacksonville, North Carolina. And it's kind of country, but kind of not, because it's close to military base and whatnot. But I was getting all this information online, so I didn't really expect that celebrities knew what was going on. But it was already being big between celebrities. And when, MySpace was still big, and then people were having MySpace blogs, and the supermodel Iman, she started talking about Concrete Loop on one of her blog posts, and then Kanye shouted us out, and then Diddy called my parents' house. It was like stuff just started happening right after each other, and all this started happening at least 6 to 8 months after I started it. So it was kind of mind-boggling, because I'm still living with my parents, I'm still going to school, and all this crazy stuff with big celebrities that I've looked up to and listen to the music, and they actually know who I am, or they know my creation. So it kind of like built up from that. And in regards to when I moved to New York, which was 2 years ago in 2010, I had just moved there, and I was going to my office, and this older lady, she had to be like in her 40s and whatnot, and she was with some kids, and then she stopped me. She's like, "Oh my God, are you Angel from Concrete Loop?" I was like, "Wait, what?" It was just crazy to me. It was like I was in a random area in New York. I didn't really think anyone would know who I am, and she knew who I was, so she was a leader of the site. So little stuff like that happens, and you realize how big it is. But once you're like in the trenches and you're doing the work, you don't really realize it.
How have you managed to remain humble in the midst of all the glitz and glam?
I think me being humble is definitely a reflection of my parents and my brothers and people I've been around, and especially my experiences, because I'm very in tune with other people's emotions, and I'm very in tune with what's going on around me. And I always felt that if you feel like you're on another level than somebody, then let me rephrase that. You're not on another level than somebody. If you feel that you are, then you're definitely doing something wrong, because that's what's wrong with the industry right now. People are getting into it just to get famous and just to be seen. They're not really loving what they're doing. They don't have any motivation. So I think my motivation was different starting it. I didn't really look to get money or be famous or whatever you want to call it. I was just doing it for fun. So I think that's another reason why I'm still humble, because I know it can go away any day. Even though I'm, it's a business now and I'm making money and I'm traveling, I have a book out, et cetera, it shouldn't go away any time. So I just want to make sure I'm still a positive person if it does.
I know a lot of times people kind of get caught up in all the hype, and it's just amazing that you've been able to remain the person you are before, all of your success.
I had a few times, I won't say a few times, but a couple times when I got kind of caught up when I was trying to be something I'm not going to have to sit here and act like, oh, I've always been like, oh, yeah, Angel, da, da, da. When I started Concrete Loop, I was very insecure and I was very, like, depressed. A lot of people don't know that. I was a very depressed person growing up. Even though I was a hustler, even though I was very outgoing on the outside, I was very depressed and not comfortable with myself. I grew up in Hawaii, and I know a lot of people already know the story, but I just felt like I always was, I was the one that stood out the most within my friends, because everyone was all pretty, and I just felt like I was like the odd one out all the time. So that's probably why I migrated to doing computers and all this other stuff, just to keep my mind occupied. But when I started Concrete Loop and I started getting invited to these events in New York, and this was before I moved up here, I would try to emulate what I was seeing other people were doing instead of just being myself, you know? And each time it would be an epic fail. I looked a mess half the time because it wasn't really me, or like an outfit I would wear, it wasn't looking right because it was something I wouldn't normally wear. I was just wearing because I thought that's what you should wear. So once I realized, you know, I was definitely doing the wrong thing on the wrong path doing that, that's when I was like, you know what, let me continue myself. And I think Concrete Loop definitely helped me get out of my shell because you can see the growth. I looked at pictures of myself when I started Concrete Loop until now, and it's definitely a growth. Like, this definitely happened for a reason because I think I'm about to cry a little bit. Definitely a growth within myself, you know?
Right, because that's definitely another topic we wanted to talk about. Just when we see you, we think of this fashionista, and for you to say that this has definitely been a process to become, you know, this fashionista that we see today. Because when I see you, I'm like, oh, she's so dope. I want to dress like her. That's what I want to be like. So for you to, you know, be honest with us and say that it's definitely been something that you've had to work to get to this place, to be comfortable with who you are. And then we also know on your personal blog, the caption was, you conceive, believe, and achieve. So how have applying these concepts to your daily life helped you during your journey?
Well, wow, that's a good question. I just like that saying because it's true. If you continue something and you believe in it, you can definitely achieve it. You know, that can go with anything in life. And when I first heard that, I think I was on YouTube and I forgot his name. I can't remember his name right now. Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill was the guy who you know, coined that phrase. He was a motivational speaker back in the, I want to say the 40s and 50s, but somebody might Google that later. But yeah, he was a motivational speaker back in the day. And a lot of his stuff is so relevant now. So when I first heard it, he has a few videos. A lot of people upload his videos from back in the day, and it's still relevant now. So when I heard conceive, believe, conceive, and achieve, or whatever, I was like, wow, he definitely can do that. Definitely. So that's like my motto, or my mantra, you want to say.
Your first book, Angel's Laws of Blogging, was released in July of 2011, and it has been a great success. What inspired you to place all of your skills and tips into this book?
Well, I would get emails all the time, and I still get them. Asking questions about how I do this and how I do this and how to start a blog and how to start making money and how to get pictures and all that different type of stuff. So I was just joking with my parents, and I was like, I need to start writing a book or something. I was just playing around, and it kind of like started out of nowhere. Like my parents' neighbor, she's a noted author, so I started asking her questions about certain things, and I worked on a proposal. I just started learning so much about the book and the publishing industry that I didn't know. So it was a real process. I had to write a proposal. I was denied over 20 times from major publishing houses because they said it wouldn't sell. And then, I kind of gave up. We kind of gave up on it, me and my co-author. And then a smaller publishing house, Skyhorse Publishing, got a hold of our proposal, and then it kind of went from there. They loved it, and then it kind of went from there. But the motivation from it was definitely the readers and people who were inspired from the story and wanted to know my tips and guide to how to get Concrete Loop or how to get their site about Concrete Loop.
Definitely, definitely. One of our favorite quotes from you that we found off your blog was, "The older I get, the more I realize that less is indeed more. Talk less and do more. Stunt less and work more. Cry less and smile more. Hate less and appreciate more." Our show basically focuses on uplifting and inspiring our generation and beyond. So if you could give one word of advice to our listeners in light of our 20s Takeover series, what would it be?
Well, the main thing is to definitely be yourself, like I was saying earlier. Many of the problems that people have is when they're trying to be something they're not. A lot of things that happen in your life, if you look back on it, it was because you were doing something you weren't supposed to do, or you trying to be something you're not. Yeah, there could be other little exceptions here and there, but in the long run, yeah, you were probably trying to be something you're not. So once you finally realize who you are, yes, it is a process. You're not going to learn it overnight. But once you start being comfortable with yourself, you know, anything is possible because you have nothing holding you back. You have nothing, you know, negative in your thoughts. So I always say be yourself and always try to be positive. Always look at the positive side of things.
We just want to thank you so much again just for taking this time out to speak with us and our listeners and to share your story. Whether you know it or not, you've been a huge, huge impact on our lives, and we just want to thank you personally for this opportunity.
No problem. Make sure you talk to me.